I'm Scott Kveton. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Urban Airship. We're a mobile services company. We help our customers build successful mobile apps by providing web services that allow them to engage, monetize, scale across a variety of different platforms, and then analyze and track how successful they are. For me, Portland is a good mix of. Portland's just an amazing city. I love it here. I have family here. My kids are here. But at the same time, there's a strong entrepreneurial spirit, and I think that Oregon itself is all about a yin and a yang. We have sort of that. I don't want to say lazy culture, but the coffee culture of folks who they really just want to consult for 20 hours a week, and they want to have a lifestyle business or build a fart app or something like that, and that's great. And that actually is a great yin to the yang of people who are wanting to build really successful businesses. What I love is we're a stone's throw from the Bay Area, from Seattle, and we can hiring is really, really great here, and we can do it under market. I mean, you go down to the Bay Area, and they struggle with recruiting and retaining employees. You've got Google, Zynga, Facebook, and all these guys hiring like mad. Plus, you have every startup under the sun that's happening down there, and it gets really, really competitive. Whereas we can sit here and still, compete in that market and play in that market, but build a really successful business. The other thing that I like is there's a camaraderie among a bunch of the companies here in town, especially sort of this next generation of startups that it just is, I think, unparalleled, and we've been able to learn a lot from them and either drive business in each other's direction. But I love Portland, and to me, I love what the OEM's done. I love what the Software Association of Oregon has done. I've been an active member there. OAF with the Oregon Angel Fund. All those things are really, really great, and I think that they're good for the city. But I think really, and one of my secondary goals, and when I run a business, is helping my people understand what it takes to become an entrepreneur and start their own businesses. And my back of the napkin goal for the next 10 years is to create 1,000 tech millionaires in Portland. That's the one thing that I think will drive the city more than anything else. Any program, any city funds, anything like that, it's successful exits. And to get successful exits, you need to build teams that understand all parts of the business. And so, I spend a lot of time being really, really transparent about what we're doing at Urban Airship, how we raised our funding, how we're doing on revenue, how we're ramping up sales, what we're doing on engineering to scale, how we're hiring and recruiting, all those kinds of things, so that, all the 22 people that work at Urban Airship, when someday they move on, they'll go off and start their own businesses and be able to start, not from square zero, but, way up there and know what they're going to be doing. So, yeah. I think one of the biggest hurdles I've had to overcome is just owning the fact that you're the only person that's going to believe in yourself. There's a lot of people, especially when you go to start your own business, and especially if you start a business that's in a new space, they're going to tell you it can't be done. And this will be folks who are either you're trying to raise money from, or fellow entrepreneurs, or and you just have to believe in your gut. You have to go with your gut. And go hard, and for me, the key there was I'd failed several times by not going with my gut, and so because of that we've been pretty successful with Urban Airship so far, and then 18 months since we started the company, but there's a long way to go, and there's a lot more things for us to potentially fail or trip up on, and those are just things that you have to deal with. Yeah, I think some of the things that have tripped us up, again, it comes back to me for the, believing in, what you're doing and where you're headed. Just as an example, when we got into building Urban Airship, there was a big question around the size of the market. Is this mobile thing really going to take off? Are smartphones really going to be interesting and compelling? And 18 months ago, there was a huge question mark around that. The iPhone was out, but the concern was, hey, people aren't really going to be using these for everyday things. And now, Android's come along, and BlackBerry's got all their new devices out. You've got Windows Phone. There's just this huge market that sort of revealed itself. But 18 months ago, it was kind of a crapshoot. But that was just what we had to do. The other one, previously, one of the companies that I ran before this, I co-founded a company that sold bacon on the internet. Like really bacon on the internet. And everybody thought that was crazy, but it was actually a pretty interesting and fun business. By the time we launched it in about 21 days, and it was full, e-commerce, supply chain, all this kind of stuff. There were just 3 of us. And by after about a year of running it, we were doing the holiday season of '09. We were doing around 600 pounds of bacon a day that we were shipping out. And we ended up having one of our competitors. Yes, there are other competing bacon sites on the internet. Ended up acquiring us, and out of that came a book deal. And but it was one of those things where if anybody asked us, "Hey, is this interesting and compelling?" They'd say no until they saw it out there and launched and live. So, yeah. I think the resources for me have been fellow, other entrepreneurs and business advisors. I've been really, really lucky, both with Urban Airship, with Bacon, with the Open ID Foundation, the Open Source Lab, to have really, really fantastic advisors. And they're folks who've been there and done that. And a lot of people ask me, well, how do you go about finding an advisor? And I think it's one of those things you just have to just cast a really wide net and have a lot of conversations with lots of different people. I dedicate usually Tuesday mornings between 8:30 and 11:30 for just coffee meetings with people who've reached out to me or people that I want to reach out to. And you can say, hey, maybe this is kind of a waste of time, but at the same time, even if there's 1 out of 50 that turns out being just a great connection, that's a good thing. And then every single one of those meetings I leave asking them, what can I do for you to make you more successful? Who do you want to know in town? And from that, I've been able to draw just a really fantastic set of advisors, both for Urban Airship and previous ventures. Because the reality is, it's a really lonely place running your own business, and founding a business is really lonely. And so having people who've been there to sort of coach you along and just say, hey, there are going to be dark times and there's going to be really happy times. That's what a startup's all about. And just to know that the highs aren't really as high as they are, and the lows aren't as low as they really are. So, yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we're facing right now is just unprecedented growth. What I think is a pretty unique problem. I've worked for a lot of different companies, and the problem they haven't had is they have too many customers, or they have too much demand for their services. And so for me, it's taking the business to the next level, scaling the business. We're at 22 people, revenue is really starting to ramp, and there's parts of the business. My background is an engineer engineer and technologist for the last 15 years, and so now I'm having to deal with things like, how do we build out a sales organization? What do we do on the marketing front? What do we do for HR and just standard company policy? How do we define a culture at this stage so that when we're 100 or 200 or 1,000 people, that culture remains true to who we are from when we founded the company? So, I don't look at it as an abyss. I see it more of as a mountain, right? We're climbing that mountain, and it's one that's going exceedingly well. So, yeah. Oh yeah. So what? So what inspires me to keep going? I think is that I don't really work at all. I haven't worked a day in my life, especially with the current Urban Airship. We're in a space that's so new and emerging that we get to tackle new problems every single day. And it reflects on the sales side, on the marketing side, on the engineering side. There are new challenges of scale and dealing with customers, figuring out pricing. Just all these different things are so new, and there isn't a clear answer. There isn't like, hey, here's a formula and apply it. If there was a formula and applied it, I'd probably be bored out of my mind. And so, the other thing that keeps me going are, interacting with other, whether it's co-founders, CEOs, those kinds of things. We actually there's a group of us here in town, in Portland, who do a, semi-regular gathering of sort of CEOs and founders. And it's a great chance for everybody to sit down. It's a friendly kind of environment. What's said in the room, doesn't leave the room. But we can say, hey, I'm having a hard time hiring a sales guy, or I'm having a challenge with one of my co-founders, or I'm, just those kinds of things. And hearing those, knowing that there's other people who are going through that, helps me, stay motivated. And I always come away from those just so energized and so excited. The last one for me is one of our investors, True Ventures, actually out of the Bay Area. About twice a year, they host what's called Founders Camp, and it's another event where we go down and there's 50 or 60 different founders who all show up in the same place, and there's speakers who come in, and we get a chance to network with all these folks. And while it's great for True to be able to say, keep their family connected, it's great for us to drive business and to hear what other people are doing and the challenges that they're having, because companies fail, people don't, and I think that's the critical piece there. So, anyways. Who inspires me? Yeah, there's a bunch of folks. One of the guys that inspires me, and I'll totally call his name out because he's actually one of my board members. I'm not trying to, kiss his ass or anything. But Pete Grillo is a local guy here in town, and he's an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. He's been around for 20 plus years. Has built and sold several different businesses. It's funny because when I met Pete, I realized, oh my gosh, I know what I am. And people tell you, he's like, I have no marketable skills. The only thing I can do is build companies from nothing. And it's true, and I'm the same way. I can't. I used to be a system administrator. I can't do that stuff anymore. I do have a technical background, but really for me, it's having the right instincts and knowing what to do with the business, even though you're not really sure. And Pete has been one of those guys who's just always blown me away. The other one is just young entrepreneurs. I've been really, really lucky to, because of the success of the last couple companies in Urban Airship, I get a lot of people who reach out to me just saying, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business, and they want advice. And I'm always open to giving advice to that. And I now serve as on the board of advisors for several different companies. And it's great to see these kids who are 19, 22, 24 years old who are building businesses. And they're getting to, I get to tell them, hey, here's the steps in when you do fundraising, and hey, they get a term sheet, and I can talk them through the details of those things. And that for them just accelerates what they're doing, and just the crazy energy that you see from these kids is so cool. And for me, it's really inspiring. And one of those things that I know I'll always do, I'll always advise and mentor young entrepreneurs, because it's just such a inspirational kind of thing.